sometimes it doesn't seem like you're a chief executive, because we saw you with Trump in the White House signing this drug pricing deal. During the pandemic, you were flanked by Joe Biden at the G7 as you were donating vaccines to the poorer countries. You had Bibi Netanyahu on speed dial during the pandemic when Israel served as a kind of a huge clinical trial for your vaccine. So when you accepted the job, did you ever imagine that you would end up spending so much time with world leaders?
Yeah. Not so much time, but we always knew that who is in the government is extremely important for our business because it is highly regulated. So, and also the government is either the biggest customer, like in the US, or the only customer, like in Europe. So always the CEOs of Pfizer, they were spending time interacting with governments around the world. But what we are doing now, I think, is unique. It's not necessarily that I like it. I prefer to spend my time in doing drugs for cancer. But I know how important it is to do that. And it started with COVID, basically. So the need of all the governments to speak to us, because we were basically the only solution and the only hope that they had from a disastrous situation at that time. And they forced all of them to call. And I took all the phone calls, and I couldn't deliver always what they wanted. But I would always talk to them, and they appreciated it. And we always tried. So that created a lot of good will and relationships with many, including President Trump, because there was the Operation Warp Speed, so he would call me every week to see how the vaccine is going. But also with President Biden, because once the vaccine was there, basically it was the time that the government changed. And we actually, the vaccine, we knew that we have a vaccine just a few days after the elections. So we worked a lot with him to be able to distribute and deliver the vaccine. And so now health became extremely politicized, also because of COVID, way more than before. And so the need to stay close to the US Congress and the US government from both sides of the aisle and all the European governments is very high.
So you have some experience then as a diplomat, as it were. One of the themes of this meeting appears to be that European diplomacy has broken down. Any advice for how to get it back on track?
They need to keep talking.
Yeah.
I mean, many times I felt the disaster is here. The whole thing was destroyed. And many times I was tempted to say, what the hell, I stopped talking to you. But I didn't do it, and it was the right thing. You keep discussing and engaging and hoping that certainly you will have better influence if you don't do it.
And are you hopeful they can get things back on track?
I was. I was highly concerned at the beginning of the year, for example, in the US with tariffs that could be catastrophic for our industry, and with most favored nation pricing discussions. And I was a little bit concerned at the beginning also about this anti-science, anti-vaccines rhetoric that some members of the administration were using, not the Trump, but Kennedy, for example. And I felt that after a lot of effort and back and forth, we were able to resolve the MFN uncertainty and the tariffs uncertainty for our industry with the deal that we signed with, you referred to that in the White House, with Trump, and we were the first ones to do it. And I knew that if I do it, everybody will come into place. And indeed, now 17 companies have signed those deals. So I felt that that's behind us now. And I started worrying with the thing that is not behind us, which is this anti-vaccine, anti-science, basically, rhetorics, which they worry me now a lot.
Yeah, yeah. So you, in addition to being the chief executive of Pfizer, you have been chair of the IFPMA, which is one of the big industry bodies, and then now Pharma, which is one of the others. Now, the main way you have sort of got successes in this administration is by dealing directly with Trump. You know, he likes you to go to Mar-a-Lago or to the White House and to do the deal, press the flesh, and get it done. So do these sort of lobbying groups, do they have any kind of purpose anymore? Do you still need them, or is this a sort of deal direct administration?
No, you still need them because not always the situation will be like that. And you need a forum that we can all come together and discuss in a lawful way, right? Because you can't discuss certain topics as competitors. And so you need to be very careful how you do these discussions. But the truth is that President Trump wants one-to-ones. He values a lot that. And by the way, he gives a lot of access. So it's the easiest thing it is to, not for all, but to get a call or a visit with President Trump. You have a lot of access. Problem is that he has ideas.
Yes.
So, and every day could be something as a surprise. But because of that, we do a lot of, but we still coordinate with everybody else, but doesn't have maybe the privilege to have the direct access to the White House. We speak to everyone and we update people how the discussions went, and we jointly try to find the best path forward.
So this deal that you did is called Most Favored Nation pricing. Explain to us a little bit about what that is. Well, what did you kind of agree to with the White House?
What we agreed was that we will provide our products to Medicaid at the prices of the second lowest price of a basket of 8 countries, which they have similar, they have high-income countries. They are basically the G7, with the exception of US, G6, and then 2 other countries, Denmark and Switzerland, that we are here. So the agreement is that you look at the prices of all of them, and then the second lowest, so you take out an outlier, we will give that to Medicaid. And that's the first part. The second part is that going forward, for new launches, new products that we will launch, we need to make sure that there is a balance between the US and the basket of those 8 countries. And basically, again, it is the second lowest, but adjusted for the purchasing power of these countries and for exchange rates. So going forward, our prices need to be very similar in the high-income countries.
Now, this is meant to correct this idea that Europe has been freeloading on American pharmaceutical innovation for decades, I suppose, or even longer. Do you have sympathy with that kind of point of view?
I do. I mean, maybe freeloading is a strong expression, but the fact is that they used the power of the government to impose prices that clearly did not value innovation for many years, Europeans. And they paid a price for that. And the price was that all the pharmaceutical research in the previous century, so until 1999, 2000, most was happening in Europe. Pfizer's largest research center was in UK, was not in the US. All of that changed because of that. So everyone migrated to the US, and this is where we do now all our research. And that includes also the European companies, that they are doing very, very big part of their research in the US. I think for the first time, both the European Commission but also major leaders of Europe, they realize that they are missing the train. They realize that the US is moving with medical innovation extremely fast, and then suddenly they are losing ground, and then Chinese are coming up. We have a meteoric rise of Chinese innovation. Very good innovation. Not they're stealing. All of this are not accurate. They are producing serious innovation, serious science, and they realize that something needs to be done. And it is the first time that I have seen, at least as CEO, and before CEO I was running Europe, so I was very close to the last 15 years to Europeans. It's the first time that I see them having a real positive attitude towards we need to step up our efforts if we want to be part of this big innovation wave.
So the rise of Chinese innovation, obviously a problem for Europe. Is it a problem for America? There is kind of, there are concerns with the NIH cuts and so on that American innovation is going to take a hit. Do you think that America also needs to be looking over its shoulder at what's going on in China?
Absolutely. I think it is a must to do it. And people now starting being aware of that. And China is something, by the way, that is among the very, very, very few things that unites Democrats and Republicans, and they are both anti-China. But the way that so far both the Democrats and also it's changing a little bit now. Looking at things, it is how can we slow down China because they are coming up to us. 80% of the energy and the focus it is how to slow down China. Big mistake. 80% of the energy needs to be how can become better than China. The whole name of the game it is that science is progressing and you can't stop. You can't stop China. You can't slow them down. And you shouldn't, by the way. Are you going to slow them down in discovering new cancer medicines? Why? What is the benefit to humanity for that? But if you don't want, and I understand the reasons why you don't want to lose the scientific dominance that the US has in this field, and this is a great ambition, and I prescribe to it, we should do the things that will make us more competitive.
And what are they? Is this sort of like reducing the regulatory burden, the time to market, patents? Well, give us some examples.
I'll give you an example. Even the tariffs and MFN created the lowest ever, historically, multiple for the pharmaceutical companies, and the lowest historically availability of funding for biotechs. Right? So that's what happened, because this uncertainty creates a lot of hesitation to investors to put their money there. At the same time, in China, the investments are booming because the government has created a huge confidence to the investors that the returns of their investments will be there. How they did it? They have strengthened the IP rules. They respect all patents, because who will put his money? A Chinese, let's say, investor. He will not invest his money if he knows that what they discover, which is a formula in a piece of paper, anyone can copy it. They created a judiciary system that they can dispute patents in a very expedient manner. They can do it faster than in the US now. They modernized their regulator, so they have an independent regulator that makes decisions based on quality rather than in other criteria. They brought a lot of talent. People that were doing PhDs in the US, they were repatriated in China. And now, recently, they started also inviting foreigners to go and work in Chinese universities. Their universities, usually the top 10 universities of the world were American universities. At least 8 for years of the 10 was Harvard, MIT, Stanford, all this. Right now, there's only 1 American university in the top 10 and 8 Chinese. So this is the difference that I see in how they do things. And they improve the market so people can invest by providing bigger and bigger access. It's not that they do it by opening bigger and bigger prices. They are careful with their prices, but they give more and more and more people. So there is a huge need for scientific innovation, and people are investing. We do the opposite. The Ivy Leagues, universities. Also, I was extremely annoyed with the anti-Semitism and all of that happened there. What I think is true, and it should never happen. But the solution is not to to stop the funding of these universities. The solution is to do the funding in the right areas. NIH, yeah, sometimes they were not as productive as they should, and sometimes the investments were going to disease areas that were not the appropriate ones. But again, the solution is not to cut the money. It is to make them more productive with the use of AI and to direct the funding into the right areas, which is what Chinese are doing. So we should do all of the above.
This seems to all add up to one big flashing warning sign from China to America that it needs to kind of sort things out.
And it's not even warning now. They are really very close to us. And they would, if the trends continue the same way, pretty soon they will be better than us and we will have a major gap.
How long do you think that would take?
I think right now, the Chinese issued their 14th five-year plan. They work on five-year plans, right? So from now it's 14, so it means 75 years. From Mao Zedong, they started. They set a goal, and the 14 was 20 to 25. They set a goal that by year 35 to 40, they will have global pharmaceutical companies, and they will be leaders in innovation. During those 5 years, they dramatically exceeded their targets. So now they're about to issue this early this year the 15th five-year plan, and I'm sure they will bring this goal to 2030. So I think in the next 5 years, we will see more and more innovation coming from China, and towards the end of the decade of around 2030, we will see big competition coming from China globally.
So time is sort of running out, as it were. You mentioned Kennedy earlier. Obviously, kind of a large part of what Pfizer is known for, at least beyond kind of pharmaceutical circles, is the vaccine during COVID that helped bring the world out of the pandemic. What's it like having a sort of vaccine-skeptic at the heart of HHS, the Department of Health and Human Sciences?
Clearly, it's a very big challenge, and I knew it, and I engaged with him pretty early, before he was even confirmed, and we started having discussions. And I have to say that I have great access to him. I can text him. He will reply back immediately. I've chosen, there are two paths you can take. One, there is a very big disagreement on these vaccines and some of the scientific issues. Let's focus our discussions on them, how to resolve them. And there is another path that you say that is really unresolvable. But there are other things that we can agree. So why don't we work on the other things? And by doing that, you create trust and bonding between the parties, but then you can go back and resolve the issues that you disagree. So I have very productive discussions when it comes to cancer cures, when it comes to the MFN that we did, the most favored nation deals, etc. It's a different world when you start discussing vaccines. There is almost like a religion there. So I'm very concerned, very frustrated with that. But I continue engaging, and we have, as I said, a very strong and respectful, both ways, relationship, and we can chat about that.
So sort of discuss the things that you can get agreements on and park the issues that you kind of fundamentally disagree on. Works for a while, but it's not a sort of sustainable kind of thing for years to come. Something has to change, no?
The Secretary of Health.
Yes. Okay, moving on from geopolitics and domestic politics. You recently paid a big chunk of change, $10-point-something billion for Metsera, which is this sort of clinical stage.
I was going to pay 8, but Novo Nordisk
pushed the price up,
yeah,
but you won.
The price.
Yes. Why did you want that asset so much? You fought very, very hard to get it. Why did you need it?
Yeah. Pfizer always believed that the obesity is a huge medical need, and we had our own research programs going back decades. And actually, we were one of the first companies that had GLP-1, but we never understood that that can be used for obesity, right? and many others the same until recently. But our two assets, they failed. And, that's the name of, that's the beast, right? The science is brutal. You can have rewards and you can have and satisfaction and you can have huge disappointments. And that happened with us. Two of our molecules, we were going to be the first one to bring an oral GLP-1 in the market because we had started way earlier, but both of them failed. And so we had all the infrastructure, the scientists, we had the labs, we had the people the doctors, the marketers, but we didn't have now a portfolio. And we were looking, and we looked everywhere. In Europe, in the US, in China, there is no company that we didn't, that was quite advanced and we didn't do due diligence. And we felt that the Metsera portfolio was by far the most complete, more advanced, and most differentiated. So we came to the conclusion that now, in our hands, those assets can really create dramatically significant value. And that's why we did it.
And that differentiation matters because you're going to be coming to market later than others, and so you need
Absolutely.
to have... Yeah.
And the GLP-1s, they are, I think, fabulous medicines. But they have some limitations, as we know, the side effects, you need weekly injections, etc. So Metsera was giving you the opportunity to do monthly injections instead of weekly, which could be a very big advantage. It also has amylins that they are having very low, they have very good tolerability profile, usually. Very much lower diarrhea or vomiting or nausea. And in combinations of the two also you can have very good results. So these are the differentiations that will make someone win the game. But also, of course, you need a strong commercial presence, your ability to communicate with consumers. The obesity is very different than other medicines because there is a huge willingness of patients, of people, to pay out of the pocket outside the insurance system. That is the second time that happens in the world. The first time, and only, was with Viagra. Viagra was not reimbursed, and people were willing to pay out of the pocket to get the medicine. So we developed significant expertise in marketing Viagra and fighting counterfeits and all the things that come with a product that has very strong brand equity and consumers really choose to get it. And I think we will do equally well with our obesity portfolio because it has the same characteristics.
So you mentioned there, this is a sort of consumer market in a way. It's not a traditional sort of market where you have this kind of array of middlemen in between you and the patient. Do you think that this is going to change the structure of how you sell drugs to patients more broadly, or is it a sort of specific case with the weight loss drugs?
I think in the specific cases will be very advanced. I think in broadly it will be very limited. Still will come from zero to something, but in the obesity already we see 30% coming from, and that is growing, from out of pocket. We've never seen something like that before. So I think things are changing there.
So for your own direct consumer effort, then also the White House or the administration has one, this Trump RX, which I believe is launching shortly. You think that they'll sort of be relatively small versus the kind of complex Byzantine healthcare system in America?
No, because I think what Trump RX is doing something different, is offering prices at discount that voluntarily the companies are putting there. And still, you need to go to your doctor, and your doctor needs to prescribe the medicine. And when you have a script in your medicine, you can choose to go to buy it in the pharmacy through your insurance, or you can print a voucher from the Trump RX and go to the pharmacy and buy it in a cheaper price. So basically, this is how it works. And I think particularly, there is one catch here. They need to make sure that when people buy medicines out of pocket, they can count it towards their deductible in Medicare, particularly. Right now, people are paying the first 2,000 anyway out of their pocket in Medicare, and then it is fully covered. But this 2,000, probably they pay it with prices that they are double than they could find in the Trump RX or in the websites of our companies. So they will have a significant incentive to buy it from them as long as
it brings down
the 2,000 deductible. And I think that's the catch. If they do it, I think we'll have tremendous volumes going through that.
So I want to sort of finish up talking about AI, and whether or not this is a bubble, and whether or not the bubble will burst is one of the big kind of binary questions in markets at the moment. Now, you and your industry have some experience of backing products and going for a very long time without any revenues and not really knowing whether they're going to work at the end. So I'm wondering, do you have any sort of advice for these kind of companies that are sort of experiencing somewhat similar kind of roadmaps to biotech companies?
Yeah, you know, the tech companies, they have very different culture than pharma companies. And the main reason is that for tech companies, short-term means 6 months, mid-term means 1 year, and long-term means next year. In our case, short-term means 3 years. When I say short-term, I speak 28, 29. Mid-term, it is 31, 32. And long-term, it is 35, 36. So that creates very different dynamics in the ways. And we have this culture not because we are lazy or because we are slow. We move very fast, but the regulations for health are such that creates, let's say, this very different. So I can advise them how to move in an environment that things are moving very fast. Probably the risk tolerance actually should be higher for them than for us, because they can discover after that these are bad money after a year. It didn't work. We discovered it after 8 years when our products in obesity failed. It was on the 8 years of their existence. And we had already spent tremendous amount of money, and then suddenly it goes to zero. So I don't have advice for them how to deal. But what I know it is that AI is transformative. I'm convinced about it. And will change the way that we work across the board. And particularly in pharma, will contribute significantly to a scientific renaissance that will bring medicines, better medicines, faster for things that we couldn't even dream that we will have. Cancer, Alzheimer's, difficult things that you can't tackle. AI will help us to do significantly better.